sound from love. Burning his faith, mastering himself, true to his word, seeking me, heart and soul, bound unto thee. That man God loves, that man God loves, who is with friends, the same as with foes, keeping it open heart. Good or ill, lovers will, mixed in his faith blood. That loves, love is not his kind, is not vexed by them. Through the breath we forgive, over his life. Now it stands serene, pure and unperplexed, his praise ablaze, unmoved by each, steadfast in me. That man God loves, that man God loves. The most of all these happy ones, to whom 'tis life and faith to sin, to perfect faith in love unseen, drinking the blessed unrest of my being. That man God loves, that man God loves, that man God loves. Krishna Shana, Ram Krishna Shana, Shana Ram Krishna my refuge, Ram Krishna my refuge, Ram Krishna my refuge, refuge. Sharanagantaham, 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 Sharanagantaham. I surrender to you, I surrender to you, I surrender to you, my refuge. Krishna Sharana, Krishna Sharana, Krishna Sharana, Krishna my refuge, Krishna my refuge, Krishna my refuge, Krishna. Kipari Kelavam, Kipari Kelavam, Kipari Kelavam, Sharanagate. Kipari Kelavam, Kipari Kelavam, Kipari Kelavam, Sharanagate. You are grace incarnate, you are grace incarnate, you are grace incarnate, come Krishna. You are grace incarnate, you are grace incarnate, you are grace incarnate, Ram Krishna. Krishna Sharana, Krishna Sharana, Krishna Sharana, Krishna my refuge, Krishna my refuge, Krishna my refuge, my refuge. Nama Shri Gurave, 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 Salutations Guru, salutations Guru, salutations Guru, Rama Krishna. Salutations Guru, salutations you. Hare Krishna, Krishna Rama, Krishna Hare Krishna, Shravana, Hare Krishna, Shravana, Hare Krishna, Shravana, Shravana, Hare Krishna, Melody, Hare Krishna, Melody, Hare Krishna, Melody, Krishna, Ram Krishna, Ram Krishna, Jai Ram Krishna, Ram Krishna, Ram Krishna, Jai Ram Krishna, Hare Krishna, Ram Krishna, Jai Ram Krishna, Hare Krishna, Ram Krishna, Jai Ram Krishna, Hare Krishna, Shravana, Hare Krishna, Shravana, Hare Krishna, Shravana, Shravana,
आकाशतत्त्वं वस्त्रं स्यात् गन्धस्याद्गन्धतत्त्वं चित्तं प्रकल्पयेत् पुष्पं धूपं प्राणान् प्रकल्पयेत् तेजस्तत्त्वं तं नैवेद्यं स्यात् सुधां बुद्धिः अनाहतध्वनिर्घण्टा वायुतत्त्वं च चामरं सहस्रारं कविच्छत्रं शब्दतत्त्वं च गीतकम् नित्यमिन्द्रियकर्माणि शान्तिर्यं मनसस्तथा सुमेखलां पद्ममालां प्राणानायुधं तथा अमायाद्यै भावपुष्पैः अर्चयेद्भावगोचरम् अमायमनहङ्कारमरागम् अमदं तथा अमोहकमदम्भं च अद्वेषाक्षोभकौ तथा अमात्सर्यम् अलोभं च दशपुष्पं विदुर्बुधा अहिंसः परमं पुष्पं पुष्पमिन्द्रियनिग्रहः दयापुष्पं क्षमापुष्पं ज्ञानपुष्पं च पञ्चमम् विपञ्चदशैर्भावपुष्पैः सम्पूजयेत् शिवम् ॐ सर्वदेवदेवी स्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः। ॐ ईशगन्धः सर्वदेवदेवी स्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः। ॐ इदं चन्दनपुष्पं सर्वदेवदेवी स्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः। ॐ इदं सचन्दनपुष्पपत्रं सर्वदेवदेवी स्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः। ॐ एष धूपः सर्वदेवदेवी स्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः। ॐ ऐङ्गेशदीपः सर्वदेवदेवी स्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः। ॐ ऐं सोपकर्णनैवेद्यं सर्वदेवदेवी स्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः। ॐ ऐङ्गेशचन्दनपुष्पाञ्जलिः सर्वदेवदेवी स्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः। ॐ ऐं ह्रीं एते गन्धपुष्पे सर्वदेवदेवी स्वरूपिण्यै श्रीशारदादेव्यै नमः। ॐ एते गन्धपुष्पे श्रीमद्विवेकानन्दाय नमः। ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। यथाग्नेर्दाहिका शक्तिः रामकृष्णे स्थिता धिया सर्वविद्यास्वरूपां तां शारदां प्रणमाम्यहं। परतत्त्वे सदा लीनो रामकृष्णसमाज्ञया यो धर्मस्थापनरतो वीरेशं तं नमाम्यहम्। ॐ वर्णाय सशक्तिकाय सपार्षदाय सर्वदेवदेवीस्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः. Now we shall have the arati. देवाय विष्णवे नमः. ओम एतत्संप्रदाने सर्वदेवस्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय So you can chant now, say.
We'll get the tune, Maharaj, otherwise we are out of tune.
And we have to find the key, right?
Right, right.
That's okay.
Jai Shri Sarada Devi ki Jai. Jai Shri Swami Vivekananda ki Jai. Jai Shri Buddha Deva ki Jai. Jai Shri Jesus Christ ki Jai. So welcome, dear friends. Today in our monthly satsang we have the privilege of having a guest speaker of the eminence of Swami Atmajnanananda ji, and this is the Passover time, and we are at Hillel. And moreover, this Swami came from a Jewish background, so all these things match, together. So, and he is speaking on a very important theme, and that is living consciously and acting skillfully. So, he is right now the resident Swami at Washington DC, and there, as you go to the center, you can see the practicalization of the topic that he has given, that living consciously. Must be conscious as to who we are, and acting skillfully. See how skillfully over the years, very patiently, facing all types of challenges, he has built a wonderful center there. So, without much ado, I will hand over the microphone to him. This also has to be with you, And that with you and this with me will not work.
I've never been called eminent before. It's a great honor, but I thank you.
People have to correct their mistakes. If they had not called you earlier.
So it's nice to be here. This is the first time I've come here. The last couple of times I came to Connecticut was in that beautiful house. Unfortunately, it's not there anymore. But it's nice that they give us the opportunity to come here. It's the Vail House. The topic came out of actually an article that I wrote. Every once in a while, I get a request from one of our two English medium magazines from Ramakrishna Order, Providence and Vedanta Keshari, to write some type of article. So I was asked a couple of years ago, I think, to write something on the Ramakrishna mission, its ideals and activities. This was the topic that was given to me. So whenever we hear about the ideal of the Ramakrishna mission and Ramakrishna mission, we always think of what's come to be known as the motto of the order. That we have a twin motto, that we should struggle for our own realization or liberation, Atmano Mokshatam, and that we should also look after the welfare of the world, Jagat Hidaya Cha. So this is a very beautiful ideal. I think most people, most of the monks of our order, if they're asked to talk about the ideal of the order, they'll talk about this. It's very, very important. These two things go hand in hand. If we think about our own realization without caring for anybody else, we'll become very dry. It'll be very hard and selfish. It's very hard to make great progress in spiritual life. If we only care about social reform and things without striving to find our real nature, we'll also get entangled in things. So these things go hand in hand. It's a very, very important topic, but I didn't want to talk about it because because everyone will talk about it, and we all know about it, and it's all very important. So I thought to myself, what is really the distinctive feature, I feel, distinctive feature of the tradition that we have in our order? And it struck me that this emphasis that we find on really paying attention to details, doing everything with great skillfulness, with great devotion, with great reverence, doing everything as a type of offering, as a type of worship. The emphasis on detail is something that is remarkable in our monastic tradition, I feel, for several reasons. One is that it can easily be neglected. When we think about karma yoga, we look at the teachings of Gita and everything. So much emphasis on renunciation, non-attachment and everything, not caring about the success or failure. That the tendency may be there that we really don't care about success or failure. Yeah. And that we don't pay attention to what we're doing. We're trying to be free from attachment and all of that. That I think this falls a little bit under what Swami Vivekananda called undigested Vedanta. That we get a little wrong conception about things sometimes. So this is something that I think was corrected, and this possibility of falling into that trap has been avoided in our order, because this attention to detail goes all the way back to the least likely person, Sri Ramakrishna. The least likely person, the one that we think his mind is always someplace else, that what does he care about putting things in the right place and doing things in order and thinking things through. But it turns out that he was very, very particular about that. Holy Mother also, Swamiji, all of the direct disciples, that this was a very, very important aspect of their conception of spiritual life. That we can't be sloppy workers and sloppy thinkers. That we have to think everything through very, very carefully and act looking at all aspects of things and the ramifications. I mentioned this a little bit yesterday, this idea of looking at the ramifications of our action. So I decided that I would make that my topic, this idea of skillfulness in action, and then the second idea, living consciously. And living consciously, I don't mean any very high metaphysical sense that always thinking I am the witness or I'm one with God, anything like that. But just not sleepwalking through life. Yeah, which most of us do. Really paying attention to things and observing things and weighing the things in the balance and looking at the long-term effects of things and just living consciously, knowing what we're doing and making decisions based on really some type of intelligent analysis of all of the factors and everything. We think that these are just practical things, but these are very, very important in spiritual life. And to develop that type of mind that can observe things very carefully, that the same mind that we're using for external things, we use for internal things. So it's a process of training the mind as well. So that was what I came up with, that this new way of looking at how we perform action in the world. Now, it's not completely new when we read in the Bhagavad Gita this phrase that you'll hear us all the time. You'll hear this quoted so many times. Yoga, karmasu, kaushalam. That one of the definitions of yoga is doing things skillfully. We have this term daksha, there are other terms, pramada, in the negative, apramada. This is a very important term that we find in the Upanishads. It means don't be sloppy in your thinking. Don't be careless. That pay attention to detail. That's the type of mind we have to have if we want to really both make progress in spiritual life and be beneficial to other people. So we'll find that there is tremendous emphasis on this, especially by the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. And when we read all the different stories of how they trained the second generation of monks in Brother Mutt, we see how much emphasis was put on all of this. Swamiji, of course, emphasizes to a great extent when he talks about work and its secret. Yeah. So what is the secret of work? We have our whole concept of karma yoga, that there are so many different elements to this karma yoga, that one of them is really we have to pay attention to looking at how we can be successful. Now, this is what I'm saying. We get a mixed message when we read the Gita, that siddhya siddhyayor, we have to be the same in success and failure. That we don't. But why should we do anything if we don't want to be successful? There's a question we have to ask ourselves. Is there any purpose in taking up any job if we don't want to be successful? So if we make this mistake that we think that we're great yogis, that we don't care about the goal, we don't care if it's good or bad or successful or unsuccessful, will be the same. Know that we have to try to be successful in everything that we do. Now, what about passion? We get passion will cloud everything. We won't be able to do things clearly and everything. No, we have to be passionate about our work also. That we have to really, we take up anything. Suppose someone is a scientist and they want to come up with a cure for cancer. They should have tremendous passion for that. That it should really be a goal that is very dear to their hearts, and they want to do whatever they can to be successful. Now, the subtle distinction is that they don't want to be successful if they're really true to their calling, for name and fame, for getting something named after them, for getting a big raise and becoming very famous and becoming head of some big university or anything. That they're doing it because it'll be beneficial for others. So there's a very subtle distinction between being goal-oriented and reward-oriented. So we have to learn to make these little distinctions when we practice this karma yoga. And this is why I think this is something, at least in the early days, unique to our tradition, because monks in the old days were expected to be so inward oriented that it didn't make too much difference what they did, what their appearance looked like, and how they acted in the world. They were supposed to be indifferent to everything. And there's a whole series of activities that are performed by the Ramakrishna order. Monks working in hospitals and in schools and orphanages, all of the work that we do was considered outside of the realm of sadhus for generations. And we don't do that type of work with the old karma yoga idea. I remember one of our sadhus said that Swamiji never taught karma yoga. That the typical type of karma yoga is, what is the reason why we perform karma yoga? To purify the heart so we can have God realization. Yeah, a very selfish idea. Swamiji's idea was different. That this karma yoga really means we do everything as worship. And the highest type of karma yoga is seeing God dwelling within all beings, and he gets converted, of course. That it's no longer thought of as any type of service to other beings, but actually worship. So it's karma, it gets converted into seva. And we're doing some real service that gets converted into puja, some type of worship. And then the highest, it gets converted into prema, that we do everything out of love. Of course, these all go back to the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna. So, if we're jnanis and we look upon the world as unreal, then what incentive is there for doing anything with worrying about success or non-success? These are all these Vedantic teachings that can seem to conflict with this idea of karma yoga. So we have to understand that everything has its time and place. We sit for meditation, that's the time we can say this world is a dream. We open our eyes and we have to serve other people, that's the time we have to say God dwells within all beings. This is all a manifestation of the divine. We have to be very clear that we don't get confused and mix up these things. So, these are all beautiful teachings. Looking upon success and failure is the same, that not caring about the fruits of action. These are all beautiful teachings, but we have to understand the real meaning of it. So, Swamiji has this very nice formula that we have to take full responsibility. Everything we do is in our hands. We do everything to make sure that every detail is looked after. We try to do everything perfectly, and then we know that it may fail. It may fail. You look at some scientists, that they may spend years with some type of trial over a new medication that may work. After 10 years, they find out that no, that there are too many side effects and that the number of cases that are successful are too few. They abandon it. So they have to look upon this as they've done everything that they can. At least they've eliminated one possibility, and now they know how to do better the next time. So nothing is really wasted. And also, if they're perfectly successful with all of this, and somebody else gets credit, they should be equally happy. This is the real karma yoga. But it's never this idea that we don't care if it's successful or not successful. That there's no point in doing anything why do it if we don't want it to be something useful and beneficial? And if we're really devotees, if we take this attitude that everything is an offering, then it has to be done perfectly. The same care that we take in cutting flowers and fruits that we offer in the shrine should be done when we do every other type of work. That cutting food, fruits and things to be given to the family members. That's equally puja. Everything becomes puja. With this attitude of karma yoga. And this is what I feel was really a very special emphasis that we find going back, I say, even to Sri Ramakrishna, that he was very particular about all of these things. So this is something that I find to be very important. That it's not simply this concept of karma yoga, but it's the way we perform action. And the mind itself gets trained up. This also becomes very helpful for us. And this devotional attitude will increase. And we'll find that our power of concentration will increase. So it's helpful for meditation, it's helpful for devotion, it's helpful for everything. So we really, this is what Swamiji means, that there should be no distinction between sacred and secular. That everything we do is a type of prayer, everything we do is a type of worship. And this is the real karma yoga. And if we're fortunate enough to work with other individuals, then we have to do it seeing God dwelling within everyone. So I wanted to, now one other thing, pride. That can we work with pride if we want to be karma yogis? Anybody?
No.
Yes?
I've heard
You've heard this before, and it doesn't count. Yeah, no, just think, if we practice this, dasya bhava, the attitude of the servant. Look at the attitude that Hanuman had. How proud he was. Why was he proud? I'm a servant of Rama. I can do anything in his name. This type of pride is a very good thing. What does Swamiji write? He says, this very beautiful Sanskrit verse. He says, don't you know who we are? That we can crush the stars to atoms. We can unhinge the universe. Don't you know who we are? We're the servants of Sri Krishna. So this is a very good type of pride that we can have. The best type of pride. Proud that we're devotees. Not proud for anything individually. Not proud for any special talents or skills that we have. But we've been given the privilege to think of ourselves as even the lowest of the possible servants. That we're all, I like to think sometimes that we're all foot soldiers in the army of Sri Krishna, and Swamiji is the general. That whatever little role we have to play, like look at the pride that the squirrels had and the chipmunks had. They could roll on the ground, get a little dust in their fur, and they would go and they'd roll over on the bridge, and it would fill in the cracks there. They were helping to make the bridge so that Rama could go to Lanka, Sri Lanka, and rescue Sita. So that type of pride is a very good thing. So these are the types of things that are emphasized by Swamiji, by Holy Mother. Holy Mother was very particular about how we do our work and how we look after things and doing things so carefully. There's so many examples that we have in our order. Even sweeping the path. So many times we hear these different stories, how the young brahmachari will get scolded that there's a little thorn or something left on the path. And they'll be told, don't you know Sri Krishna walks here? That whether it's literally true or not doesn't matter, but we should have that attitude. And when everybody else walks there, that's Sri Krishna also. The Holy Mother dwelling in every woman, Sri Krishna in every man, that we have to take that type of the attitude. So then the focus of the mind is both on the work and on the spiritual ideal. So both things get emphasized that way. Yeah, we see in the life of Sri Krishna how if something was left behind. There's one example, they were having a little picnic sometimes in Panchavati. They used to do that, and there was some chance of rain, so somebody took the umbrella there and came back, and Sri Krishna said, did you bring the umbrella? And he said, oh, I forgot. Let me go back and get it. And then Sri Krishna said, you know, half the time I don't even know if my cloth is on my body. I mean, the mind is someplace else, but I never forget anything. So these are all the wonderful teachings that he gave. And, you know, with Holy Mother, Sri Krishna didn't just give the spiritual teachings to her, he gave her such practical teachings. How to do every little thing. You be the first one to enter a room, the last one to leave, see if anybody left anything behind. Very practical things. There's another nice story about Sri Krishna that I like very much. That once, again another picnic, that Sri Krishna had a little knife, paring knife, that they used to cut fruits and things like that. And I think it was Swami Turiyananda Hari, I think so. Anyhow, that he took it, and then afterwards, Sri Krishna said that, did you put it back? He said, yeah, I put it on the shelf. And Sri Krishna said, did you take it from the shelf? He said, no, you keep it by your bedside. So he said, why did you put it there if I keep it here? That you have to if you take it from one place, put it back in the same place. Now, there's a story behind this. Do you know the story? Why he was so particular about that? Yeah, that I also didn't know it. Much later, the real explanation came. When Sri Krishna would wake up in the morning, the first thing he would want to do is take the name of God, right? But he couldn't do it unless he brushed his teeth. And brushing teeth means you take this twig, the neem, little twig, and you have to have a knife to soften the end of it so that you can do it for your teeth. So if the knife is not there, he wakes up, it's dark out. He doesn't sleep in the morning. It may be midnight. You sleep for an hour and get up. And if he doesn't find the knife there, it's in the dark, how will he find it? So that's the reason behind it. But the principle is there, that we have to think that will it inconvenience somebody if we take it from one place and don't put it back? I know this personally in our center. We get very well-meaning visitors to come, and they want to help out in the kitchen, and we can't find anything. They want to put well-meaning people.
Same thing happens in Providence.
Of course, of course. This is a standard thing. There's so many little things that see we haven't had it for a while, but summer camp. We really try to teach these things to the kids. If you sit in our shrine, that we have two big heavy doors. We've tried our best to make it so that they don't clang when they close. But we really, they're so heavy, and the door stoppers, whatever it is, it makes a noise. Everybody who sits in the shrine hears it, and yet everybody who walks in lets it bang. And you can very easily just hold the door and let it close quietly. So we tell the kids that don't bang the door. And other doors, people are always banging doors. And stop and think. Even a simple thing like that, will it disturb somebody? To train the mind to think in those terms, a wonderful thing if we teach that to kids. So this is part of that koshalam. This is part of what it means to be skillful in action. Swami Shankaranandaji was one of the presidents of our order, one of the early presidents, the second generation. And he was also very, very particular about this. One interesting thing is that we find this emphasis on skillfulness, particularly when it comes to cutting vegetables. There's so many stories about that, how the senior direct disciples, Swami Brahmananda and others, Swami Premananda, that they would go around. The brahmacharis had that job. They had to peel the vegetables and cut them and everything. That they would observe how they did it. And especially peeling potatoes. They didn't have these peelers. You had a little paring knife. And if you did it very quickly, then you could either not take all of the skin off, leave some of the eyes of the potato there, or take too much of the flesh of the potato, like that. So, Swami Brahmananda used to say, I can tell who had a good meditation today. By looking at the way, how much attention that they gave to that. And so the Swami Shankaranandaji, one day, he was going from place to place and observing how everybody's working, and he sees there's brahmacharis there, and he happens to notice the peelings from the potatoes. He doesn't say anything. And he tells the monk who's supervising, he says, you take all of these cuttings, these peelings, that they're going to throw away, and bring them to my room. So they brought him to his room. What did he do? He peeled a second time, and there was enough of the potato left that he himself made a little curry and said, now take it to the shrine, offer it to Sri Ramakrishna, and then give it to the brahmacharis to eat. So what a wonderful way of teaching them that don't waste anything, that this can be offered to Thakur, it all belongs to him, that you have to do everything with great care and great attention, without saying anything to them. He didn't give them any big lecture. This is the way he made this teaching clear to them. So this was a very nice teaching from Swami Shankaranandaji. Swami Shankaranandaji, he was president of the order when Swami Swanandaji was at Vidyamandir. He had just joined there, and he liked the Swami Shankaranandaji, but he was very grave. So he would go to see him sometimes, and he wouldn't say too much. So then he stopped, and then Swamiji said to him one day, "Oh, you don't come to see me anymore." So then he started coming in. Then he thought, I should ask him something. So he asked him this question, and I'm sure many others, he gave the same answer to other people also, but he asked this question: these boys that we're trying to train up, is there one thing that we would like to impress upon them, the one thing they should take away from these years that they've had here, beyond just the school things that they're learning and everything? So Swami Shankarananda, he said, yes, if they learn to think before they act, if they learn to consider everything very carefully, not just act hastily or rashly or anything, think before they act, that means live consciously, it'll be enough. Then you can feel that you've done your job. So I've heard Swami Swaniji tell this story many times. It left a great impression upon him. So, as I say, there's so many examples that we have. Swami Lokeshwaranandaji. Swami Lokeshwaranandaji, he was the founder. He built up this whole Narendrapur, this fantastic educational institution that we have. He started from nothing. There was just a small place, Patoya Ghata in Calcutta, and then they purchased this land, and it was really many of these poor people who came after partition had no place to stay, and then they did a lot of work in the slum areas, and they built up just a fantastic, one of the best schools in all of India. So he was so skillful in everything that he did. But when he first joined, he had one experience that he told me about. I was very close with this Swami, and I spent a lot of time with him. And so I really benefited from his company. He was so calm and sweet and loving. The one thing I noticed about him, if you were outside of his room and you heard him talking to somebody inside of his room, you wouldn't be able to tell if it was some senior sadhu or he was very close with his Chief Justice, if it was him, or if it was one of the workers there or one of the servants or something, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. He spoke to everybody with the same respect and calmness and everything. He was a wonderful example of that. But he told me this one story that when he first joined, Swami Shivananda Mahapurush Maharaj was the president of the order at the time and his guru. And he gave him a little job to do. He just joined, young brahmachari. And he said, I've written all of these letters, and put the stamps on the letters, and then we'll mail them. So he thought that the best thing I can do is quickly get this job done and give it back and show him how quickly I did it. So he didn't pay much attention to whether it was in the right corner or straight or a little bit crooked, anything like that. He brought everything back and placed it there. And then he left. Later he saw that Swami Shivananda himself removed each and every stamp and put it back just exactly in the right spot in the corner, not being crooked or anything like that, without saying anything to him. But he made sure that he got to see it. So this is the type of training. This is why I say I think this is unique in our order. People will say, what's the difference? Stamp is meant to deliver a letter. No. This is also, why do we arrange flowers nicely on the shrine? It's an offering. Well, how is this also not an offering? The same mindset should be there. This is the beauty of that type of teaching. So the skillfulness also goes to time management. Now I'll tell you the story. This is something that I learned when I joined our order in Trabuco Canyon in California. We had a Swami there that everybody knows him because he was such a great artist. Swami Atmajnanananda. Yeah, that most people have seen some of his artwork because the prints, you see them everywhere. He did that. Do you have it anywhere at the center? This one where all the direct disciples standing.
Yeah. We had used it for one of our annual cards, you know.
Yes, yeah. But he wasn't just a great artist, he was a wonderful sadhu. He did everything so calmly and peacefully. I learned so much from him. I really practically idolized him when I joined. Yeah, he was a wonderful sadhu. So when I got there, there was no bookstore in Trabuco. So I thought there was one room that wasn't used for anything. So I said, can we make a bookstore? And he said, yeah, that's a nice idea. So I did a lot of projects with him. Two of us worked side by side for things. So the first thing that we did was to put down a wooden floor. It was just a concrete slab. So this was a type of job that involved putting down some mastic and putting things down. And it's good if you can finish it all at once. You don't want to be in the middle of something that you have some mastic there that doesn't have wood on top. So I said to him that is there a deadline for this job? Should we try to work a little bit late or something, try to finish it in one day? And he made the statement. He was not the type of person to make any dramatic type of statement. So I just kind of off the cuff, he said, the schedule is the deadline. The schedule is the deadline. Oh, what an interesting thing. So that meant that we had a work schedule, that we worked every day from 9 o'clock to 11 in the morning. Then we would stop, get ready. We had the noon worship. And then we would work 3 to 5 in the afternoon. And we'll work those 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon. However long it takes, that's how long it takes. We won't rush it. We'll do it carefully. And the job will be perfect. When it gets done, it gets done. Now, people in the world can't do it. I know this. I know that you have real deadlines and you have to rush things and everything. But just this idea that let the job determine the way it should be done, and don't cut corners, and the job will turn out nicely. So the time management is also a very important part of this skillfulness in action. So this was something that I learned from our Swami Tirana. Now, is it just these great souls and these Swamis that we can learn from? I had a nice experience once. I was flying, maybe from Providence, and I got stuck in LaGuardia. I was going, I don't remember, maybe, anyhow.
Providence to LaGuardia?
Because I was going to Cleveland. Do you remember that time I had to go?
To Cleveland.
Yeah. Anyhow, I was stuck in LaGuardia Airport, and plane was delayed. I was there for a couple of hours, and I see this window cleaner, the man who came to clean all the windows. And I was observing him very carefully, and I was so impressed with his concentration, with his skill, almost unaware that anybody's there watching him or anything, and just how just in one stroke, again, you spray everything on, in one stroke he could do the whole thing this way, and without any streak, without anything. Now, was he thinking about God the whole time, and was this his offering or anything? No, maybe, but I doubt it very much. But the point is that this became a type of meditation almost, or just how fully concentrated his mind was on the job, that I thought that here we're monks trying to do all of these things. We don't have nearly that type of concentration and skill. Now, one other interesting thing about concentration, and this I also know personally, that the more we can keep the mind fixed on the ideal, the more we can keep the mind fixed on repetition of the mantra, the more we can be concentrated on work. Now, this is mostly things that we do with our hands. I know that if the work involves talking on the phone, reading, something like that, then it's very difficult. But if we're doing some outside work or I do woodworking, so I know with woodworking, we can really, really be karma yogis at that time. We can practice karma yoga the way the Sankhya ideal. Work is done by the hands, directed by the mind, and I'm the witness, and mantra can be going on the whole time. When they tell us that give 1/4 of the mind to the work and 3/4 to God, keep the mind fixed on God, actually you can have 100% of the mind on God, let the hands do everything else. So there's a certain woodworking tool that we have in our shop that's a type of jigsaw that's used to make curves and things. So if you want to make a curved cut in a piece of wood, you'll draw an outline of it. You'll have a line, and then you have to push it through and keep turning it so that the blade of the saw and the mark on the wood are always perfectly lined up. So I used to call this a type of you could say saw yoga. It's jigsaw yoga, something like that, to keep the mind. And I found that whenever I was not working very carefully, that I also wasn't concentrated on repetition of the mantra. And when I really concentrated, repeating the mantra, that's when I was most concentrated in doing the work. Yeah. So these are little things that we hear about and really have to be put into practice. This idea that the mind can be focused on this higher ideal. See, this karma yoga, we have the karma yoga for the jnanis, karma yoga for the bhaktas. And they can both be combined, really. But this is that idea that I do nothing at all. All the work is done. This play between the gunas as objects and the gunas as the senses. This play. Sometimes when we're driving a car, we feel that we'll be thinking about something, and we'll say, "Oh, who was driving the last few minutes? How is it I didn't have an accident?" Yeah. Or even we go to make a turn. Do we really think? When do we start to turn? It becomes automatic like that. So we can really feel sometimes that action is really done by this body-mind instrument that we have, and I am the witness of it. It's a little too mechanistic for my taste, but anyhow, sometimes we really can feel that. And so we have both ideals here, even acting that way. Then when the job's done, then we'll be bhaktas. Yeah. And see, the great thing about this devotional path is that we don't have to worry about, am I really not the agent of action? But I felt like I did it. So, okay, so I did it, and let me be the one who does it as an offering. And let me not care for any type of result from that. Let me take pleasure and pride that I could do it as a type of offering. Yeah, just a few more things. There'll be time for questions.
Yeah, there is still time for you.
I saw a TED Talk. You know about these TED Talks? Mm-hmm. It was very interesting. And it was, I forget who it was. He was, I think, some part of some symphony orchestra or something like that. Anyhow, he told this story about the Holocaust. And there was a mother and a child. And they were on this boxcar being taken to Auschwitz or something like that. And this child was being a little bit naughty or something, and the mother scolded him a little bit. And then they got separated. And the mother survived, and the child was killed. And then she said that how bad she felt, that these were the last words that she said. And the teaching was given that whenever we speak to somebody, try to imagine what we would say if we knew that these were the last words that we would ever get to say to them. Mm-hmm. So one element of again, the thinking consciously and before we do things to weigh everything and consider the effect of our words and everything. So this is something that I think is really distinctive of the Ramakrishna order, the work that we do. If anybody goes to Brother Mutt, you'll see how the decorations are there, how each flower pot is arranged perfectly, how everything is swept so beautifully, and all done as worship. And all with that feeling that it's a privilege to be able to worship that way and to act that way in the world. And we have to transfer this to everything that we do. Yeah. So there's a beautiful statement made by Sister Vedanta about Swamiji that's in the preface to the Complete Works, where it's after Swamiji, no longer any distinction between sacred and secular. Yeah. To work is to pray. I forget the rest of it, but anyhow, the beautiful statement. Do you remember the whole thing?
Yes, not the whole thing, but some other things that.
Yeah, there are things. Yeah.
Like to hold is as sacred as to give up.
As to give up.
Yeah.
So we have to get rid of this idea. This world is just a dream. We don't have to care for that too much.
Passage.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful thing in the preface. Yeah. So this is that idea of working skillfully for so many different reasons. We do everything as worship. We do everything to help and train this mind, and we do everything as an offering. So we want things to turn out beautifully, and not So there's the aesthetic level to things also. Let things be beautiful if we're going to do it. All is an offering, as if really. We cut fruits for Sri Ramakrishna, and not just for him to eat them, but also to see how beautifully they can be arranged on a plate. These are all things that also train the mind. They have a psychological value, and they're helpful for devotion, and become part of this transformation of character. That we really... Swamiji wanted us to be perfect with regard to everything that we do, to not be sloppy in anything, and it's a great advantage in spiritual life if we can develop these two things, to try to do everything skillfully and to live in this world consciously. Yeah. So, okay. Stop giving.
Questions?
Yes.
Maharaj, I want to ask a question related to some of the things that you shared with us. One was living consciously, and the other comment you made that was that the word Sadhu Maharaj, who said basically think before you say something. The fact we basically listen to all the YouTubes, we listen to what the Maharaj is talking about, all of the do's and don'ts. So we know consciously what are the things that we should be doing. Yet in life, we traverse through life through constantly reacting to the whole thing. Constant reaction going on. The little that I understand is basically we have two things. One is called the subconscious mind, and then the conscious mind. The conscious mind is the logic and all the things, the do's and don'ts that we learn. Subconscious mind is a function of the sanskara and all the things that go on. So sometimes, you don't think, subconscious mind kicks in. The point is, we have to have a nanosecond of reaction time to say, okay, is this right or wrong? How to have that, sir? That's the problem. I know what to do, but in real life, I'm reacting. I'm doing certain things which I shouldn't be doing. I have regrets. But the question, how do I get that nanosecond of reaction time so I know that what I should do or not, so I act rationally? That's the challenge I have.
Okay. The first answer that comes to my mind is abhyasa, practice. We have to keep reminding ourselves. Each time we react too quickly, we have to remind ourselves, I did the same thing again. Let me try to catch myself. Number one. Number two, Sri Ramakrishna emphasizes holy company so much. This is one thing that we see in the really great souls. We see these people that we really want to emulate. We see that they don't do anything without some deep consideration of things behind it. And it's not necessarily each individual thing, but just the whole life is led that way. That there's a whole underlying element of what's important in life, what's not important. This practice of vichara discrimination, that what do I want to gain out of life? How do I want to look upon other people? there's a whole mindset that goes behind it. So that mindset is there. We see this in these great souls. So we have that desire. But for ourselves, we have to keep reminding ourselves. We have to keep practicing. And we have to make it a habit with ourselves. I don't think there's any shortcut for these things. This is a whole process of how do we deal with samskaras, that we're so used to reacting. We're so used to reacting that we have to learn to not base our actions on what other people do, automatically react. I'll refer again, I keep referring back to the scorpion and the holy man. But the same thing, the holy man did not react because the scorpion stung him. He said, that's the nature of the scorpion. Why should I get upset over it? My nature is to help people. So our problem is that we automatically react to things. So there are little tricks that we can do. We can tell ourselves that this person thinks they're saying the right thing, that they also think they have a good point to make. If I were in their shoes, maybe I would say the same type of thing. That I shouldn't judge them too harshly. Maybe they had a bad night. Maybe something happened. They got fired from a job. So we try not to judge too much the way other people speak to us and do things to us. And we try to have our own set of values and parameters in the way that we think and act and live in the world, so that it's not changed. We want to be consistent people. That I want to speak sweetly to people, regardless of how they speak to me. I don't want to be the type of person that, tit for tat, and everything. Well, you did that to me, so I did it back to you. Yeah, we don't gain anything like that. See, anger, somehow we think that we're justified in getting angry. Swamiji says in one place, there's no such thing as how does he put justifiable?
Righteous anger.
Righteous and justifiable homicide and righteous anger. Something like that. Yeah. That we don't gain from it. The other person, we get angry, that means that we've been hurt twice. By something that somebody did, it makes us angry, and then by our own mind getting upset twice. So there's nothing to be gained by that. That somebody says something bad about us, automatically we get insulted. Now, unless we participate and agree, nobody can insult us. You can say whatever you want to me. You can say, look, you spoke complete nonsense this morning. I think you're an absolute idiot. I think that you have no right to be wearing this Negaro. You can say, whatever you want. Unless I get insulted, it's not an insult. I may laugh and say, yeah, you're right. I agree with everything. Doesn't affect Swamiji. We don't always think of this trait with him, but the statement that was made by Swami Subodhananda, Kokomaharaj. He says Swamiji was free from anger. Now, it's a remarkable statement. We find him yelling and screaming at his brother disciples all of the time. Yeah, but that is a different thing. But if we look at it personally, if somebody does anything personal to him, there's a different story. And he tells the example that when Swamiji was in some place in Gujarat, I think, Western India, and there were these Sanskrit pundits. Now, Swamiji was a good Sanskrit student, we can say, but not a Sanskrit pundit. These pundits are ridiculous. They can just quote from the time they wake up in the morning to the end of the night, and they can compose perfect poetry and perfect meter in Sanskrit on the spot. So Swamiji was conversing with them in Sanskrit, and every once in a while he made some mistakes. And they laughed at him, and Swamiji laughed. He didn't take it at all personally, that way. So we have these examples like that if we can learn not to take things personally. Yeah, I know, you're driving a car, somebody honks their horn behind you. Oh, you take that so personally. How dare they do that? I have to remind myself, they don't know who I am. Yeah. Why should I take it personally? So there are all these little tricks and things, but it all goes back to practice. Whatever technique we use, We have to know that we'll fail many times and keep trying till it becomes habitual with us.
One more thing, is about this, that what he said, let us not blame somebody for making me angry.
Yes.
It is because, as he said, we are hurting ourselves twice by becoming angry. So don't blame anybody for making me angry. It is my responsibility not to get angry. Let whatever the other person do. The other person may give me a slap. Does it mean that I should give another slap to me? Of course, if you are Jesus, then you will say that on the other cheek. But otherwise, no. It is, why should you blame somebody to make you angry? It is my responsibility to not become angry, irrespective of what people do. Second thing, that you put it very nicely, he put the question very nicely,
very good question. Yeah,
that there is
nanosecond.
the subconscious keeps on rushing. Before I could logically frame the answer, the subconscious takes over. And one way, this is a problem with all of us. And Yatishwaranand in his book, that Meditation and Spiritual Life, suggests this, and this is very effective remedy, that when you meditate more and more in a proper way, more and more subconscious starts coming under the conscious control. Yeah. So that is how a great benefit of meditation, that what was earlier in subconscious, now you have a conscious control, which sanskaras to allow to manifest, which sanskaras not to allow to manifest, which seeds are to be sown so that you get the right crop, and which should not be allowed to sprout. Yeah.
There's a story about Buddha, that somebody came to him and started abusing him right and left. Buddha had no reaction whatsoever. And the man got more and more frustrated. And then he said to him, suppose somebody comes and wants to give you a gift, something like that, and you don't accept it. What happens to it? He said it goes back to the person who wanted to give it. Yes. He said it the same way. Let all this anger remain with you. I'm not acceptable.
Yes, Swamiji. And what I want to ask you is, somebody wants to kill you, you let them kill you? Don't get any reaction, just let them kill you?
This is also undigested Vedanta. If you understand it that way, then you haven't understood anything. The whole point is that all the question of what is our state of mind at the time, that of course we have to protect ourselves, but we don't have to get angry, or we don't have to try to kill the other person and everything. No. Of course, we have to be sensible people. That living consciously means being sensible, having common sense. So whether we like this idea, you hiss, but don't inject your venom, or we just remove ourselves, but Swamiji says this non-reaction only for the sannyasin. The householder has to react and has to protect himself or herself, and we have to live according to dharma, so of course we have to be sensible.
And Ramakrishnadev said that you have to be a good Dhamma.
Yeah, you can at least hiss. He gives the example.
Yes, but without becoming angry.
Yeah. Don't inject your venom. Yeah. Now, we all have to understand that this is all a question of degree. We're not going to become saints, at least overnight. That if we can at least lessen the anger and tamp things down a little bit, then we know we're making some progress. And this nanosecond, when we were kids, we were taught that it's 10 seconds. count to 10 before you say anything.
Yeah.
It's very good teaching. It's very
Yeah.
good teaching. Give the mind a chance to settle down. Otherwise, we blurt out the first thing that comes to mind, and then we also regret it sometimes. Yeah.
There is a nice story about it, that is about living consciously. That it is there given nanosecond or 10 seconds, but consciously trying to control. A child was told that before you go to beat another fellow, wait for 10 seconds. Now he was counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and as 10 gave a big blow. So for 10 seconds he was not waiting, he was
Warming
just
up.
warming up.
Yeah.
So that will not help. So living consciously comes there, you know.
So not really a question, but an observation. I was traveling in India several months ago, and I was traveling with a friend who's actually a wonderful devotee, but not really a person that is connected to the Ramakrishna
Yes.
world at all. So we visited the centers in Varanasi, Allahabad, Kamarpukur, Jairambati, and he was stunned by the level of organization that he saw in the Ramakrishna order, and also the breadth of the work in India. So it was really nice to see that through his eyes, but he was really quite impressed by it.
Yeah, it's true.
Question on the web, Maharaj.
Question on the web.
Question from Absolute. Despite justification and proper reasoning, how not to be angry, fearful, free of conditioning and desire, and be joyful, fearless in every situation?
Yeah, one thing we haven't talked about, and that's the role of meditation and really identifying with that higher self and divinity within ourselves. That if we keep reminding ourselves that I'm really not this body and mind and all of that, if we can keep reminding ourselves of that, then we'll understand that these are all secondary superficial things. And if we can practice this idea of acceptance and surrender, then fear will disappear from us. Fear, anxiety, all of these things. But we have to replace all of these things with some inner. See, part of the thing is we're looking for all our joy and everything, external things. And because of that, we have fear from external things. We eliminate all of that if we can feel that divine presence within, or keep the mind fixed on this divine lila. This is another thing also, that we find that we're living in this world, of course, but at the same time, part of the mind is always living with Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother, living in this is. We have these two terms, Nitya and Lila. We can combine them. Nitya Lila. This is another completely different concept. Nitya Lila. The Vaishnavas are very good with this. They feel the divine play of the Mother Yashoda and Gopala, or the gopis, and it is going on eternally. If we can feel that even now, this very second, that Sri Ramakrishna is sitting in his room at Dakshineswar with all the direct disciples and everything, that we can participate that, at least in our minds, that the mind dwelling on that, we won't be affected so much by things that happen in this. That'll become more real to us than this.
You had given one lecture on this,
Lila Dhyana.
Lila Dhyana, very nice.
Yes.
I still remember that, Lila Dhyana.
Yeah, so that becomes real. That I came up with this motto, instead of be here now, be there then. That if we can teach the mind to and live in the past. We always hear, don't live in the past, live in the present. But for the devotee, live in the past. Let the mind dwell on that divine play and lila that took place then, as if it's taking place eternally now. As soon as we open the pages of the Gospel and start reading, we're there. It's in that 1883, 84, 85 is now in the present. We let our minds dwell on that, think about that, then external things won't affect us as much.
Yes, that is then and there means in that Leela one has to dwell.
Yes, yes.
One has to dwell on how Sri Ramakrishna or the saints they were living then. Otherwise the mind anyway dwells on the past. That is not what is meant. It is not like becoming a Monday quarterback, you see. It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Hi, Swami. I have a question about when you're talking about devotion through your works. So you're talking about how for the carpentry or woodworking is 25% on the job, 75% taking the name of God. But what if you take the example of the scientist coming up with a cancer drug, and let's say they're working 8 hours and just very focused on details and small things, and he doesn't have the time to think of God during that working time. Could he, after he's done, devote that to God?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, there's a story about that with Narada, and who is your greatest devotee, says to Narayana, and it turns out it's the farmer, that every morning he goes and stands before the shrine and says, I'll be busy all day long, my mind might be occupied, please don't mind, whatever I do, I want it to be as an offering to you. Then at the end of the day, he comes back and says, yes, I'm finished with all of my work, I hope all of it is pleasing to you, it's all an offering. This idea should be an underlying attitude of the mind. It can't always be at the surface of the mind, depending on the type of work that we do. But at least underlying everything, the ultimate goal is yes, let this be an offering, or let it be beneficial to humanity. Let it be something that will benefit others, seeing the divine in everyone if we can. But even if we can't, let it not be done with any selfish motive. So it becomes a kind of mindset also, not always in the conscious mind. Yeah, depending on the type of work.
But an extension of that question, like if your work involved that intense thinking, and when you came back at the end of the day and you do the meditation, you're still thinking about the work. The mind is still dwelling at the work.
Yes.
Still like thinking about what I was doing wrong.
Yes.
I probably left out or something else, or maybe I will do something else. I may be doing my mantra, but I'm still thinking about it.
Yes.
And keep thinking about it, like day and day during the meditation, maybe morning and evening. Maybe for 10 days, no meditation, just doing that thing.
We get a concession from Holy Mother. Holy Mother says that at the time of meditation, if the mind goes towards your work, don't feel too bad about it, it's natural. If it goes to other things, sense, pleasure, desires, things like that, then you have to be very careful and cautious. But if it goes to the work, then understand that there's a natural pull of that. The mind is thinking every day and night that it'll go there. It's not the optimal thing, but we have to understand that we're not going to make this mind completely detached from everything. Yeah, so she gives us a nice concession. Don't feel bad, my child.
How long this concession exists? Like
Till you become better.
I know this problem very well. I suffer from this problem very much. That especially because I do woodworking.
Yeah.
And everything involves trying to figure out how this joint will go with this and how all of that together. When I'm doing a project, my mind is so like a magnet pulled to that it's really a problem for me. It gets solved when I finish that project. then I find that the mind doesn't care at all. It's already solved these little questions. How will I do this and join this together? Yeah. We have to somehow connect it with the divine. If the mind really refuses to be free from these things, then we have to somehow feel that mind is so involved in this because I want it to be perfect, I want it to be an offering, I want it to be helpful. Something like that, if we can. Most of us do not have that type of control over the mind. We can just divorce it from the things it's occupied with all of the time. Yeah.
Can I add something to both these?
Yeah.
It is, let us begin from what he was saying, that you have to practice this, that do not justify that, oh, my mind is going there. It is a concession. There is a difference between concession and license. It is, there is a concession. Okay, because of certain reasons you could not file the taxes, but then when you file it later, you have to pay the fine also.
Yes.
So it is, concession is to be used only as concession, not as a license. So this is a matter of practice. Just when do you turn the light off? You are working, and so you started when it was dark, and then it became light. So when you notice the light, you will turn the switch off. So when you notice that now it is time to think of God, and then put the work aside, that distancing has to be, it is a matter of practice. That okay, just as you switch the light on and off as per need, the switch that now it is the time to work, put it on. It is not time to work, switch it off. It is as he was telling, the mind is not in our control, the switch is not in our hand, but pay attention so that the switch comes to our hand, and then you can put it on, put it off, and you will find that it can be done. It takes practice. I mean, it is true that nothing happens. Rome was not built in a day, as they say. The spiritual life is a much bigger construction than even Rome, So it takes time, but it will come. And to his question, it reminded me that in the beginning of this, Thakur says that while it was being explained to somebody once, that Swami, who was telling, he knew that I studied some mathematics, he also had studied mathematics. So he said, if a continuous function, if it is on at this end and that end, all the points in the middle, that also that function is defined. So it is so. Therefore, in the beginning you are taking the name of God, at the end you are taking the name of God, in the middle, although you are not testing, you are still taking the name of the God.
One other point. If there's something that we can take care of, see, half the time the mind is pulled to something because it's unresolved. And we keep thinking about it over and over again. That if we can actually take care of that problem, the mind keeps thinking that, I haven't answered this letter, I haven't called this person, this and that. If we take care of it, then the mind is free from it. So sometimes the things we do in the world are just to keep the mind free for meditation. I even think that sometimes we clean our desk, we clean our office, something like that, we'll have a better meditation. That clutter that we have in the room becomes clutter in the mind somehow. If our life is very well ordered, our meditation can be well ordered. So a lot of it comes to things that rather than trying to force the mind not to think about them, eliminate the problem. It's a very sensible, practical type of thing.
Yes, we have to eat and then sit for prayer, because not my mind thinking of what I'm going to eat. No, that's not the way to do it.
Yeah.
If you want to eat something.
Or finish your cooking first.
Sit for the prayer, and then you don't have to think about what do I have to eat?
The mind will look for any excuse to think about something other than what we're supposed to think about.
Yes.
So yeah, if you're cooking that day, the mind will think about the recipes and things like that.
Yeah.
So the mind is a rascal.
It is
rascal
like this,
mind.
my mind can trick us like that. Oh, okay, let me eat and then meditate. So I ate. But it is told that with heavy stomach one should not meditate. So again you go to sleep. So therefore one must be very cautious. Yeah.
I have a very basic question. I should have the answer, but I don't. When we talk, for example, someone who is initiated, right? We have all the things that we have the job, right? But meditation to me also is, for example, you learn something, let's say something, you got to meditate on that stuff. You got to basically glue it, and then all of a sudden you're peeling back the onion and you understand the inner meaning of it. So japa is one thing, meditation is something else. Can you tell me, when you talk of meditation, right? You said you meditate. Are we talking the japa part of it, or is it actual meditation that I just spoke of?
Well, this is a very big subject, and people have different ways of understanding it. Some people, their whole meditation is their japa, and the meditation part is focusing and everything. There'll be some people who do this type of kind of vichara, do this type of analysis while they're meditating. Sometimes we're doing both. We're repeating the mantra. If the mind is going to wander, then it can also wander on that we're doing our japa and at the same time feeling that I'm the witness, I'm watching everything. The mind can do all sorts of things. We get very definite instructions at the time of initiation. We know exactly what to do, but the mind doesn't work that way. We have to understand what's helpful for us, what's not helpful. Sometimes we do this lila dhyana. If we want to, if the mind can't focus, we'll read something, some incident in the life of Swami Krishna. Other times we may want to let the mind dwell on what is the real nature of the self, do some Vedantic thinking and everything. It may not be exactly what we were told to do, but we have to give ourselves a little bit of leeway. It's better than letting the mind think about worldly things and everything. So,
very good answer. Meditation is a wider concept.
yeah.
As he said, you don't have to always do japam while meditating. But while doing japam, you have to meditate. As Patanjali said, tad japas tadartha bhavanam. That whatever you are doing the japam, the repetition of mantra, at that time, let the meaning of the mantra also keep on flashing in you. That becomes the meditation. Okay then, Maharaj. So I will. I was not using microphone, but to give you thanks, I should use you. So, can't thank enough for this wonderful talk, Atmajnanananda. And we have to wrap up the program because after this we have to take some prasad and then go back to Providence where he has another speech to give. So we can't keep on discussing things here for too long a time. But it was a wonderful discourse. It is that acting skillfully, living consciously, both these themes have been so beautifully connected together that we should be very conscious as to who we are, what is our ideal, and so forth. At the same time, it requires skillful workout there. Everything has to be done skillfully as per the thinking that he told about that stamp, putting the stamp right. Mahapurush Maharaj and one Mahapurush Maharaj disciple, Swami Bhaskareshwarananda, he also told one of the Swamis there, he had been told to put the stamp, and then he saw the stamp was put in a, somewhat in a crooked way. So this Swami said, what does it matter? After all, it is it still will get mailed and will be delivered even if the stamp is put in a crooked way. He said, I don't care about that. The way you are putting the stamp shows how your mind is working. Our way of working is actually the mirroring how the mind is working. So it is a great lesson in these things to pay attention. Swami Vivekananda says that as I grow older, my attention goes to the minute little things that we do, that it shows one's character. The small little things that we do, they bring out the character in us. So very nice, Maharaj, that you brought this very important topic for our spiritual life. And so we shall now say Brahmarpanam and get next Sandhya, next meeting in the May is May 12th. May 12th, and I will send the topic. The topic,
on Mother's Day.
It is on Mother's Day. Yeah, but the topic is something on Bhagavad Gita. I will speak a little bit on Mother also. Very good. May 12th. So please note down the date, and then, yeah. So let us say the grace. Om Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagna Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahmaka Samadhina Hari Om Tat Sat Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O Lord, please accept our offerings. Bless us, make us pure and all-loving. May we not accuse, demand or complain, but love, respect and cooperate with all. May we not find faults with others, but try to find our own faults. May we not treat others as strangers, but learn to make all our own. May we feel the whole world to be our own. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. So our wonderful volunteers Vinay and Shubham, and they have been making the food ready to consume. So please, and now go and attack.